It's cool, but I'm okay.
The
You know
drought
these
one
two,
will be
don't you?
First.
Sylvia's
I have
Tubbs
this.
is Commissioner Ag, Jamie Harvey. Okay, then,
Then I can
Max.
give you the. I can actually give you the
Melissa
mouse and
Lyman
you can run
Duncan
it.
County. He's the Commissioner Ag, Craig
Yeah.
Bud. Come all
That'd
the
be
way
easier.
from Logan.
Wow.
Everything will
For
be
corner,
here.
that is a long way.
Yeah.
Give me one more second.
I think this stuff is out.
You bet.
Get your stuff.
Let me get this one.
It's right here.
Download it as well.
Do we have some stuff there that we need to
Yeah.
get?
You want me to get yours, Sylvia?
Okay. Oh, look at that.
Swag. Swag.
Slag. Oh, they must have a good budget.
Brian, like that one.
Yeah, Brian.
This
This is mine.
You guys made your orders, right?
Huh?
You made your order? You
Yeah,
ordered
yeah, I
yours?
think everybody got their order in.
Okay, perfect.
So I just use the credit card information.
Yep. Yeah.
Ready?
I think we're ready. Let me get off of mute. Hold on. That's over on Lyman's. Let me go small. Toggle. Toggle back. Yeah, we're ready.
Go.
Yeah.
Okay, we'd like to welcome everybody here this morning. We have had a 2-hour training on incident management today that we were able to complete, which was required. But we're especially happy to welcome all the Aggies here in the room today. We have a number of Utah State Aggies here with us.
Did you bring
And-
ice cream?
They just don't produce those Aggies.
But we do have kind of a long agenda, so we hope you can bear with us. We're all set up for our online information as well. And so we have all three commissioners here today, and we have our support staff. We welcome all of them. We have an invocation and a pledge of allegiance to start our commission meeting with. We allow the audience to participate in the invocation. If there's anyone who'd like to offer the invocation, you can let it be known, or we'll have somebody here at the table. Okay, Lynn, thank you. Former county commissioner.
Father in heaven, we're gathered here today, and we're indeed appreciative and grateful for thy blessings to this county, particularly in the consideration of moisture. Please continue to bless our land for the benefit of our crops and our animals and our families. We're thankful for those who serve in this community and public office, and we pray they'll continue to be blessed with good health and energy and wisdom to represent the people who ask them to do these duties. We're thankful for that. A lot of influence over our country, and pray that our soldiers and the first responders and the firemen and all others will be blessed by thee for their service. Please infuse some wisdom and good judgment among those who have national and international obligations. These things we give and pray in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. If you'd all stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will now turn some time over to Mr. McDonald to conduct our public comment portion.
Okay, for the public comment, for those that are wishing to make public comments, if you're a member of the audience here, we do have a sign-up sheet that you can sign up to make that public comment. There are two sections. We have the public comment period, but then we also have a public hearing comment period as well. So if you're wishing to make public hearing comments on the ordinance changes for administrative hearings, that's a little bit later on, but this is kind of opened for any business within the county. Doesn't necessarily have to pertain to those items on the agenda. With that being said, we allow for 3 minutes for each of your public comments. Please be courteous and kind in those comments. This isn't an opportunity for you as a citizen to deliberate with commissioners. Commissioners will hear you, and if they choose to do so, they may ask follow-up questions with it, but it isn't an opportunity to debate with the commissioners. With that being said, we will first take those members of the audience here online. If you're wishing to make a public comment, there is a feature on Zoom. If you right-click on your name, where you can raise your hand, or at the bottom, there's a raise your hand feature. We would recognize you online if you're wishing to make a public comment by raising your hand. If at the time we don't see any other hands raised online, you can unmute yourself and we'll recognize you if you're unable to raise your hand and find that feature there. With that being said, I'll take those members in the audience first. Hold on just a second. Okay, when you are making a public comment, just state where you reside within the county, as well as your name. The first one that we have on here is our former Commissioner Lynn Stevens.
I think we thought that was the signing.
Oh, sorry. Okay, perfect. Tammy, we'll skip you. Blaine, did you want to make a public comment? Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is a public comment.
They were signing up for free cheese.
Perfect. Okay, so any other members in the audience wishing to make a public comment? Not seeing any, so we will go. Hold on, we got somebody wanting to come in. We'll go to those individuals that are remote and then coming in virtually. I've got the first one here is an iPhone. So I don't know who is calling it. It has just your iPhone as the name. iPhone with your hand raised. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, there you go.
Can you hear me?
I can. You are unmuted. Just state your name and location where you're at residing in the county.
This is Kylie Miller. I live on Blue Hill Road in northern San Juan County. I implore the commission to oppose the Balanced Rock Resort. Spanish Valley, including the area, already have thousands of overnight accommodations available for tourists. We don't need or want more. Live and work here. People who are living because housing, so much of it, has been bought for second homes and nightly rentals or been built for tourist accommodations. We do not want any resorts being built in our neighborhoods. What we need is affordable housing for our nurses, our teachers, our librarians, our law enforcement. This community has said over and over, no more nightly rentals, no more tourist accommodations. Please protect this community and deny the Balanced Rock Resort. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, the next one on here, I have just the Anna chapter.
Yes, this is Brenda Brown from Anna Chapter.
Hey, Brenda.
I'd like to make a, good morning. I'd like to make a comment regarding the business/action number 15, consideration of approval of local consent form for off-premises alcohol sales at Family Dollar Store in Montezuma Creek. On behalf of the Anna chapter, we strongly oppose the Family Dollar's application to sell alcohol beverages. Our Navajo people have a long and ongoing battle with alcohol and its effect on those who are addicted. Alcohol is the reason for domestic violence, and that has broken up family, criminal activity, and we also do not have local public safety available within our area, and it takes hours if we do call for assistance, and it also has effect on our families here and people that may be innocent people that may be traveling through because of alcohol sale within our area. We have people that have their lives ended, innocent victims, and also death due to people that do not are unable to find their way home, and in the winter time they may freeze. This is what Family Dollar will encourage by bringing alcohol to Montezuma Creek, just so the company can increase their profits. This would be a shameful thing to do for our Native people and people in general. And this is something that we are really strongly opposing. We do already have alcohol being sold within our area, and this is what it's causing. So on behalf of Anna Chapter and the communities, we strongly oppose to this line item. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. Next one we have on here, I've got Colby Smith.
Thank you. Thank you, Mac. It's Colby Smith from Northern San Juan County. And I wanted to offer a comment today on item 21, which is the proposed Balanced Rock Resort rezone. And my comment is basically that the rezone is inconsistent with the Spanish Valley Area Plan and ordinances, and that this really led to some dissent in the Planning and Zoning Commission. This proposal only passed 3-2, so there was not unanimity in recommending this to the county commission. The proposed change is from Spanish Valley Residential to Residential Flex. And the rezone to residential flex is really inconsistent with the Spanish Valley Area Plan and the Spanish Valley ordinances. The area plan, which was passed several years ago after a lengthy planning process that was paid for by the county and SITLA together, says that residential flex zones, like the one that's being proposed here, should be located, quote, in close proximity to US 191, close quote. And it also says that such areas, quote, should be buffered from nearby residential neighborhoods, close quote. And really, the proposed rezone doesn't meet either of these criteria. It's more than a mile from US 191. In fact, it's about as far away from US 191 as you can get without being on a cliff. And then in addition, it's surrounded by residential neighborhoods, so it doesn't meet the right criteria of being buffered from those neighborhoods either. The Spanish Valley ordinances also say that residential flex is most appropriate for areas near to the existing gravel pits, and that it's appropriate only after the gravel pits close. And if you look at the current map of Spanish Valley, the zoning map, you'll see that the areas that are currently residential flex meet that criteria. Of course, the gravel pits are still very much active and in operation. So the criteria for this rezone has also not been met in this respect. The builders of this proposed resort want to make this residential flex because they want to build 347 nightly rentals on this property. Nightly rentals, as Kylie said earlier, we have plenty of those. I won't reiterate her points. But this would actually create more nightly rentals than there are existing households in Spanish Valley. There are only 450 people who currently live in Spanish Valley, according to the most recent census. There are 140 households in Spanish Valley, and currently there are 51 nightly rentals. This would make nightly rentals so dominate over the rest of the community that really there wouldn't be much community left. A year ago, this commission rejected a much smaller proposal to change an area just north of this one into residential flex.
That's time right there.
Saying that it was inappropriate, and I would urge the commission to do the same here. Thank you.
Thanks, Colby. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands raised online. Is there anyone else wishing to make a public comment online? You can go ahead and unmute yourself, and then we'll recognize you.
This is Monette Clark. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. I'm on my cell phone today, and it's a little different. Well, I would like to ask the commissioners also about item number 21. I would just like to ask the commissioners to deny this application today, or at least table it. I think that I live in Spanish Valley, not far, less than a mile from where this development would be. And I think it's inappropriate for the reasons cited before by Colby. But I also think that because Spanish Valley is so far away from San Juan County, many people here don't read the San Juan Record and they don't see the public notices. I would like to ask the commission to hold another public hearing on this matter if you feel you can't deny it today. It's such a huge and consequential development that I believe a lot of the public needs to be made more aware by advertising this in the Times Independent in Moab, because I'm sure you know that just most people here shop in Moab and pick up the paper and whatnot there. So that's my request today, commissioners.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment on there?
See me? Can you see me?
Oh, Marlene, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm having issues with getting in. Marlene Huckabee, San Juan County, Spanish Valley. I'm just brokenhearted with the stuff that's going around here. I mean, there's so many buildings. They're just now putting up, looks like a hotel, kitty corner to my backyard. And I hope that you've all seen it because it's taking away all the view from the LaSalles that I cherish so much. And I know it's personal, but I agree with the letter that Holly sent out and all the comments that everyone else is making about I'm opposed to this. I think too many big things are coming out too fast. And maybe the new commissioners don't realize, but in the last 5 years, it's been drastic what's changed. And there's an old saying, once you let the genie out of the bottle, you can't put it back. And that's about where we are right now. We're getting so many genies running around and we can never go back, and it's destroying this gorgeous property. So please consider that. Please vote against this or table it again. We wasted so much time 2 years ago going through this, and here we are again. It's like raising children. If you have boundaries, they realize it. Our ordinances don't matter. Just go change them in 2 years. So please consider this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment on there? Okay, commissioners, I am not seeing anybody else unmute themselves. No other hands are raised or members in the audience stepping forward. With that being said, that is your public comment period for today.
Okay, we'll go to our agenda. At this point, Mac, do you want to articulate what's on our consent agenda, and then we'll take a motion?
Absolutely. So on your consent agenda for today, you have the approval of the April 18th, 2023 Board of Commission work meeting minutes, as well as the April 18th, 2023 Board of Commissioner meeting minutes. You have the approval of the following small purchase orders. You've got $1,498.47 for computer and items for emergency operations. At $2,975.70 for a patch machine hose repair for the road department. You've got $5,509.34 for radios for the fire department. $5,483 for garage door repair. Then you've got $3,000, and that was for our facilities department. Then you've got $3,370 for removal and replacement of an air conditioning condenser that was damaged. 3 minutes is up. Damaged with a snowstorm that we've got to turn into USIP. We're going ahead with that purchase, and then we'll recoup some of those costs through our insurance provider. Then you've got the approval of the April 13th to May 11th, 2023 check registers. That's it for your consent agenda items.
Okay, that check register totaled $772,515.94. I didn't see anything on there. Any questions on the check register or anything? Okay, I'll receive a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Sylvia makes a motion.
I'll second the.
Second by Jamie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's unanimous. Okay, we'll go to item number 5, presentation and update of Utah State University in the Monument Valley campus. Christian?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioners, thanks for inviting me today. Mac, thanks to you and Jen Seelig and others that helped get this set up today. Let me just hand
them to me and I'll hand them out. You keep on presenting.
We'll keep presenting. We'll keep this short and sweet and then answer any questions that you can have. President Cockett sends her regards. She couldn't make it down due to other commitments that she has, but wanted to share with you all a little bit about our Monument Valley building, where we're at. New academic building down there in the Monument Valley area. Maybe I could just give you a little bit of history how this came about. I grew up in the area and then left for about 25 years, and about 4 or 5 years ago or so I came back. Lucky enough that life led me back into the area. And when I first got back, I went out and started seeing the various USU centers in the county, and ended up down there in Monument Valley and met with Don Don Mose Jr. And while I was there was a couple of students that were taking classes, and I poked my head in just to introduce myself. They were a mother-daughter duo that were in the Masters of Social Work program. And they kindly took about 20 minutes and just had a conversation with me about their education and their background, and then expressed upon me the inadequacy of the facilities that they were taking their classes in. As you all know, we have been in the old Seventh-day Adventist hospital down there for quite a number of years, and that building is less than desirable. And the way the students put it is, they said, if this building was anywhere else with Utah State, it would just be unacceptable, and they were right. And so that began a journey to try to figure out, well, how can we get a new building? So we started working with Gouldings down there to see if they had any property, and they showed us a couple of properties, but nothing that would accommodate and meet our needs, and nothing that was really better than what we were already in. And so we approached the school district to see if they would be willing to let us build something on their property. Working with the school board and Superintendent Nelson, we were able to get a couple of acres just across the street from the LDS chapel, and right next to the high school, right there by some of the older teacher housing. And so we really appreciate the school board. We know land down there is precious for them, and nobody is making new land. And so we understand the commitment that it was on their end to be able to give us a 75-year lease. So we've worked the details out with that, and we have a signed lease agreement with the school district. And what the pamphlet that I sent out to you is, we hired MHTN architectural firm to do a conceptual design for us. And this is the image that you see on that is the first conceptual design. The building won't end up looking like that. I'll talk about that in a moment, but the elements that are inside the building will remain largely the same. And so what we are aiming to do with this building is to build a new building that really reflects the people in Monument Valley and honors the culture in Monument Valley, and gives the citizens within that area a place to work and study that feels like an academic building rather than an old hospital that is on its last stages, and something that is inviting to the community and feels like it adds to the community. And so a couple of new things that we want to put in this building that we feel like are going to make a big impact, or one is a small welding lab, a very small welding lab that will focus primarily on concurrent enrollment initially, but then have some classes for traditional students as well. And then also a nursing lab and a CNA lab. And right now, our nursing students, we had a couple of students from there, Monument Valley last year, that just graduated with our nursing program, and they have to drive up to Blanding at least a couple of times a week, once or twice a week, to do nursing labs in Blanding. And so, as you all know, that's a 150-mile round trip. If you're just right in the heart of Monument Valley, for many people, it's farther than that. And that's a great expense, both in gas prices, especially right now with how high they are, but also with just time away from family, time away from other jobs that they have. And so this would allow students to actually complete their nursing program in Monument Valley and significantly reduce the times that they would have to be able to travel up. As we know, nursing is a critical priority for the Four Corners region. And so we feel like this will actually broaden and open up opportunities for students that don't have the time and the money to be able to drive up to Blanding several times a month to go to classes. We'll add in a small business development center and extension office as well. We recently received a $100,000 grant from the Mariner Eccles Foundation on the extension. Reagan Watsalusi wrote for that grant and was awarded that grant. And so that will be able to help us expand operations down there in addition to small business development. And then we'll have our classrooms, study rooms, and labs that are associated with just the general academic environment. In addition, we're working to build the building to really reflect the culture. The building will face east, and then we'll work with the community to look at elements that we can add in that will help it feel like it is home to the people that will attend that campus. So we have a $14 million budget. We have hired AJC architectural firm out of Salt Lake City. There was a lot of interest in this. We had about 9 firms apply for this building, several of them from out of state because they were very interested in this project. And we narrowed that down to AJC. AJC is currently doing our remodel on the old Shopco building in Blanding. And they won the bid because they have extensive work working with tribal agencies, and they did the visitor center and just a point of interest visitor center over at in Cortez there for Mesa Verde, and so that's one. If you've been to that visitor center, that was their design. So we are currently in the planning and design phase right now, and then we'll move into the architectural and engineering phase. That whole phase will take us till about December. Just 2 weeks ago, they presented some very high-level conceptual ideas on what the building will look like. Those are so high level that they were more just ideas rather than actual images or drawings. And so we're looking forward. We're meeting with them later this week. They might have some actual designs, and we'll start to get a feel for what the building will actually look like. Once we get something that I could share with the public, I'll pass that along to you all so that you can see that. We are also in the fundraising phase of this. Early on in the initial project, we were able to get the lieutenant governor interested in the project. Lieutenant Governor Henderson, she came down and visited the center. When she saw the center and went in the center, she berated us because she told us that we lied to her and that it was bad. And she said, you lied to us and you told me this was bad. This isn't bad. This is atrocious. And so she recommended we use proper language to describe the building and don't undersell it. So that's the one time, the only time you ever want the lieutenant governor to come into a building and say that it's atrocious is when you're looking for funding. And so through her leadership, she was able to secure $5 million from the legislature to go towards the building. The university, we have committed $5 million because of the President Cockett and her leadership and her desire to be able to improve the educational facilities for the students in San Juan County and the Four Corners region. That is unusual. Universities typically don't kick in that kind of money for buildings. But President Cockett feels that this is very important, so they are kicking in $5 million as well. We are in the process of raising the remaining $4 million. We recently applied for and have been shortlisted for the Ray and Ty Norda Foundation. We met with them yesterday to finalize some things. They're looking at giving us a $750,000 grant to go towards the building. They will make their decision later in June. We'll know if we get that in July. We've met with the Fidelity Foundation. Fidelity is interested in this project as well. Normally, they only build in large urban centers, as that's typically where they're located with their Fidelity mutual offices and Fidelity offerings. But this one sparked an interest for them, and they feel really positive about it, but have asked us to formally apply in their October grant cycle, so we won't know until then. Commissioner Adams and Commissioner Stubbs. Commissioner Adams was able to help us pull together a meeting with Council Delegate Daniels and President Willis Begay, and Commissioner Adams and Commissioner Stubbs, President Cockett, and several other members of the USU team had a very positive meeting with Council Delegate Daniels. We have forwarded the proposal to him, and he is currently having legislation drafted to go towards Navajo Nation Council. That'll be a lengthy process. We don't know the amount that will shake out to be, but we have requested quite a bit of funding from them, and then we will see how much that gets whittled down through the process, as typically does in the process, and we'll see where that shakes out. But Council Delegate Daniels is very supportive of the project, as are other. We've talked with President Nygren, Speaker Curley, and others as well. And everybody is supportive of the project, and we'll see how it goes through the Navajo Nation Council and see if we can win support of the council on that. We anticipate we'll know sometime this summer on the funding on that. And then we're applying for some new market tax credit as well. This is a federal grant to be able to help build projects in rural communities. We were successful on that with our Moab building. We have indications that they are interested in this project, but they don't know if they'll receive funding until November. And we'll have to see if they receive some funding, the agency that we would apply to, and then we'll apply to them and see if we can win that award. And that should bring us to roughly our $14 million budget. We do anticipate we'll have everything in place by the time we break ground, which will be sometime next spring. In January, we'll put it out to bid for construction and then break ground sometime later in the spring. One other great piece of news that went out yesterday is the university has committed to help fund scholarships for Native American students. This is for current students and new students. So any Native American students who don't have enough to cover their tuition and student body fees, the university will provide a scholarship to cover those students. So this was just announced yesterday. It's a project I've been working on for a couple of years with the university. We finally got the details hammered out, and that public announcement went out. And so all of our Native American students will be able to go to school and have their tuition and fees covered, which is going to be a great benefit to San Juan County residents and residents in the Four Corners area. So we are really excited about this project. We think it's going to be a fantastic addition to the community. We'll have some community elements inside the building. We're working through those details yet, so nothing to report on that. It's not going to be a large building, but it is going to be a nice building that will be able to serve the academic needs of the community, plus provide some additional community space for meetings as well down in Monument Valley. I think that probably about covers where we're at this point in time. Are there any questions that I can answer for the commission?
I just want to make a comment. I used to be on that campus for 22 years. And one day, 3 of us went to the atrocious building. We opened the doors, and it was like you went into a movie set where everybody stopped and they left and they locked the doors. Wherever surgery was happening, everything was left on the table, the gowns. It was just like we were in a haunted house or whatever. But we were excited to have more space because it's so nice to have that, because now we can move up. You can move up to something more. And while I was at the meeting, I plugged in. I decided that maybe we should have a childcare program on the building, because we have one on the campus that I initiated, and it has been really successful in helping the students. And I think even in the community, it'd be good to have something like that. And I'll keep my ears open for funds. Maybe it can help a childcare program.
Yeah, it's a great legacy, Commissioner Stubbs, on our campus that you started with the child care, and it's something we've been approached about the Monument Valley, and it's in our long-term plans to be able to address that. And I have been working with the San Juan Foundation on their child care down in the Montezuma Creek area, and I'm hopeful that we might be able to create some type of collaboration even with San Juan Foundation down in Monument Valley, but that might be a little ways off, but it's something that is vital and I think is needed, and will be an important next step after we get this building completed. Absolutely.
Christian, we're really grateful to have an arm of the university down in San Juan County, and attending graduation this year, you had over 100 graduates, I believe, which is a record for your campus. And I'm proud to say my granddaughter was one of the graduates in that class. And so I got to attend the graduation, but your programs are growing. They're very helpful in the county. We appreciate it. Appreciate the work you do, and appreciate having Utah State here in San Juan County.
Oh, we appreciate the support of the commission. We've worked with MAC on several items. The county leases us a building, and our health professions program is in, and we do a lot with the county, and just appreciate the opportunity to be in San Juan County and to support education here, and are committed to finding opportunities to be able to continue to expand and grow and provide the right facilities for the students. And hopefully in August, we'll have our doors open, and we'll have a grand opening for the new technical education building in Blanding. And then hopefully about a year after that, we'll be able to, maybe 18 months after that, we'll have a grand opening. We'll invite you all down to Monument Valley for the big grand opening down there as well.
So we're going to have some rodeos too. I see a rodeo.
We are working on that with Professor Kais. We're starting to build that out, and we're hopeful to start a rodeo program sometime in the future. And he and I have been working on that for the last couple of years, and it's taken a little bit of time to get it off the ground, but we are hopeful that we'll actually have a rodeo program that will compete on the collegiate level. Yeah. So
appreciate your presentation, and thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Commissioner, I had a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to, 2 points I want to speak to. My first point is I was fortunate enough to attend the graduation ceremonies in Blanding, and then the second one was actually in Logan. And the statements made by the leadership there to honor the indigenous, the native communities, honoring their lands, their culture, that was an amazing thing to hear. So it's very valued, and thank you for honoring the local Native Americans, including our ancestors that have been here for many years. So that was just really huge for me. The second point I wanted to comment on was being able to, it appears you're incorporating the philosophical elements of the culture, the Navajo culture, in establishing the building. And that's also honoring the local community and their desire to make education holistic. So that's also an awesome thing to see. So just two comments there, and thank you for finally addressing the needs in our county for natives. We've been without higher education for too long, and thank you for bringing that to us in our lands. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate those. Just one follow-up comment to Commissioner Harvey. I appreciate your comments, and And one of the things that I and my team down in Blanding on the building in Monument Valley is we didn't want just a building that would fit in Salt Lake City or Logan or Tooele to be down in Monument Valley and just, you could just Lego block it and put it down there. What we wanted to do is be very intentional so that the local community and people who live down in Monument Valley area, when they walk in, they feel like, oh, this is ours. This isn't just another building that was plopped down somewhere, but this belongs to us, and this is for us. And so that's the goal. And so I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. We're pleased to turn some time over to Craig Butters, the Commissioner of Ag, and Kelly Pearson, our own Kelly Pearson from San Juan County. So we'll go ahead, Craig.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's great to be with you today, representing the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food. What we're doing is taking a tour of the state. Kind of similar to what the governor is doing, but we are visiting each one of the counties and presenting to the county commissions or the county councils, talking about agriculture, our agricultural programs, and different funding opportunities that we have had recently, and just the overall structure of the county. I think we have 10 counties left, and so we're in the process of meeting with a lot of the counties in the farther south end of the state. So it's a pleasure for us to be here. This is a beautiful area, and I've been through here more probably in the last 2.5 years than I had the rest of my life. But I have spent a lot more time down here. And so you can go ahead and are you running the slides?
I will, absolutely.
Okay,
They're
yep.
kind of cut off with this.
All right.
little
But the Department of Agriculture and Food actually began in 1896 as a Board of Horticulture in the state. And in 1921, it was officially combined with other organizations to form the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food. Okay. So some of the things that we do, we oversee or generally have a stewardship over agriculture throughout the state. We also we do, of course, inspections of retail and manufactured food. We inspect grain scales and everything from bedding to quilted clothing and things that you wouldn't even imagine. We also inspect cannabis production facilities. So very broad responsibility for inspections. We also do regulation. We consider ourselves a service organization, but we do have a regulatory responsibility. We also protect consumers through the inspections that we see, and also, things such as you might not consider, but those people that apply pesticides, especially those that apply in residential areas, we try to oversee those operations, protect the consumers in that way. We also have rulemaking authority, which means that when the legislature passes a law that they're directing us in a certain area, we have to write rules as to how we're going to implement that law. We also work with pest and disease control for agricultural operations, for farms, and even in residential areas. And we do marketing and economic development for products in the state of Utah. These are our divisions. I won't read through each one of those individually. I've already mentioned a lot of those, but one that I'm going to highlight is our grazing improvement program. Troy Forrest, who is from here in the Monticello area, is over our grazing improvement program, and he's done a lot of work in the Bears Ears area, and we're hoping to be able to improve and secure grazing opportunities in the Bears Ears for the future. So, and you can see there are some of our areas. Kelly's going to talk about our strategic goals, and let me just add before Kelly comes that one of the first things I heard when I was asked to be the Commissioner of Agriculture is, you better keep Kelly there at the department, and I'm so glad I have. And I think that was probably one of the first and best decisions that I've made as Agriculture Commissioner. So I'll turn the time over to Kelly.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thanks, Commissioners, for having me here. I told myself I wouldn't get emotional. I love this county so much, and it's good to be back. And when Governor Cox came on board, he asked us to do a strategic plan. He wanted us to really figure out what the vision of Department of Ag's, how our role in working with the producers, and what ag looks like for the next 5 to 10 years in the state of Utah. So what we did was we did a tour throughout the state of Utah. I think we had one in Green River where we invited the elected officials, a lot of producers, to come up and tell us about San Juan County, kind of did a SWOT analysis of what San Juan County sees for the next 5 to 10 years in the area. But anyway, it helped us come up with some goals for the future. And I'll go through them each individually, Mac, if you want to scroll down. But the first one was agristructure. Agristructure, as you know, if you want to get your cows harvested right now in the state of Utah, it's going to be a year and a half wait to be able to harvest your cows or get them butchered. And that's a huge issue right now in the state of Utah. Most people can't feed their cows for another year and a half as they wait to harvest them. So we are looking at ways to grow more processing in the state, have more food, meat and food, vegetable and food processing throughout the state of Utah. And we're going to talk about programs later of how we can accomplish these goals. And don't worry about writing them down. We're going to send you an email with all the links that you can share with your constituents. Agriculture workforce. This is actually a worldwide issue. The average age of a producer, ag producer, is 65 years old in the state. We got to find ways for younger people to get into agriculture. And the only way we can do that is to make it profitable, something that they want to do. And so we're going to continue to find ways to get capital for people to purchase land, make things less restrictive, make it easier for our producers to be more productive. And that's one of our goals. Ag land preservation. Even in rural areas, this was a concern. We're seeing a lot of ag land be developed by the last crop you'll ever see is homes on those ag land. And you can definitely see it in the Wasatch Front. Commissioner and I just did a tour to Israel, and we saw in Israel that they build in the hills and leave the ag land alone. And so they do it right. In Wasatch Front, they did the opposite, and we're going to regret that someday in the state of Utah as we develop more ag land. And so we have programs that we want to talk to you about helping preserve ag land for the future. The food supply chain. During COVID, it was scary to go to the grocery store, probably even down here, to see them empty. I think the only thing you could find was Spam for some reason. I don't know why Spam was the only product that you could find in the grocery store, but it was really scary, and we can't have that happen again. And we got to find ways more for Utah to be self-reliant and have products here for people during natural disasters or other things like COVID. We know in Utah we can't grow everything. We have to trade, but we got to find ways to be more diverse in the products that we grow here in Utah. Ag education. It is scary that even if I ask my own kids where the food comes from, a lot of them might say from the grocery store. So we have partnered with the Farm Bureau to do a lot of ag in the classrooms, do a lot of things to educate the youth of where their food comes from, and also find other ways in education for people to be a part of ag. I know that all three commissioners are very involved in the legislation this year, but we did get funding for vet loan repayments. So if someone wants to be a vet in Monticello and they get they have a loan, a student loan, we got $2.5 million to help them repay for those loans. We know there's a huge demand for vets in rural areas, and we're finding more opportunities for people to get into ag in different ways.
They even have a program down in Blenheim.
Good.
Vets right now.
Yeah, so the vet school at Utah State will start in 2 years, so we're excited about that. Then we have a lot of inspectors that inspect our ag producers down here in San Juan County. We want to make sure that they are providing the best customer service to our producers. We have to regulate. We have to be the good cop and the bad cop, but we want to make sure that they are providing a good customer service and they're partners with our ag producers. So if you hear that our inspectors are not doing their job and not being a good partner, let us know, because our goal is to provide the best customer service to our ag producers. And I'll turn the time over to Commissioner for a few more things.
So I think some of these things here are quite obvious, but we want to just outline the benefits of agriculture in Utah. Of course, agriculture provides food and fiber and animal feed throughout the state. Recently, as we've gone through a drought and now through floods, it's kind of highlighted the importance of having feed on hand for our animals. And so we get often criticized for the things that we grow. Like we've had a lot of criticism about growing alfalfa, and why do we do that? But it's a good thing that we've had those feedstocks on hand for our animals, because with the drought and then all the snow that we've had, a lot of our producers have had to rely on those the stock of hay that they've had on hand. Of course, agriculture strengthens our local food security. As we've talked a little bit about our food processing, we create rural jobs, and we all know that those are some of the most important jobs that we have in the state, is our rural jobs. We work to conserve open space. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We do have irrigation systems that provide water not only for our animals and for our crops, but also for wildlife. And of course, agriculture is a large economic driver for rural areas, and we will also talk a little bit more about that. Okay. So here in San Juan County, we're just as a brief overview here, crops and livestock account for about 50-50 of your share of sales by type. But at a glance, you have $16,706,000 of market value ag products that are sold here in the county, 823 farms, and that's a 10% increase from 2012. Acres of farmland, 1.6 million. Average farm size is just over 2,000 acres, and you have about 7,500 acres of irrigated farmland, and 96% of the farms in your county are family-owned. And as far as state ranking here in the county, or in the state, your county ranks 5th in grains, oilseeds, dry beans, and dry peas. And this morning I got a chance to go out and tour Lewis's farm, Ty Lewis and his sons, and see some of that grain producing area. And it reminded me in a lot of the Ukraine. I had an opportunity to visit Ukraine just last week, and they have a lot of those rolling hills and fields, and a lot of oil seeds that are produced in the Ukraine also. And market value of ag products, you can see there, $8.5 million in total crop sales, about $8.1 million of total livestock sales, and then over $6 million in cattle and calf sales. Okay. And Kelly's going to talk about a couple of these programs, and then I'll cover a couple of them also.
So I talked to you about the goals that we got from our strategic plan, and now I'm going to talk to you about the programs we have that we're going to help accomplish those goals. The first one is water, I believe, or the meat security. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So 2 sessions ago, we got $1 million for a pilot program to help with the processing, the meat and vegetable processing issue. With that $1 million, we knew it wouldn't go very far. So we tried to do the best return of investment on that $1 million. And we got, I believe in the next slide, we got 79 applicants, roughly about 14 million in requests. And we actually did fund, and on the map shows you some of the projects that we funded, one here in San Juan County. But this session, we got another $1 million, and the application period is right now from the 1st of May until the end of May. So anything that will help a processor do more, if it's equipment to help them harvest more, is eligible for the grant. So please share this information. Again, we'll send you the link, but this will help us. We'll continue to ask for more funding for this program. As you can see, with 14 million in requests, and I bet we get double that in this period, to try to help with the processing issue. We also applied for 2 federal grants that were actually just barely got awarded, and we're learning all the details on it. But one of them, the Regional Food Business Center program, it will allow us to hire employees to help all the producers apply for the federal funding that's available. There is a lot of federal programs right now with the agriculture, and this will be a resource center for all of our producers to come to us, and we'll help them apply for those federal funds. The other one is our other food system infrastructure program. We just got awarded some money to do something to match our state processing grant with federal funds. So we're excited about that. We'll be able to do grants to help more processing issues in the state. And I'll let Commissioner talk about water optimization. Will you mind sharing the video first? Mac, you might have to go back to that file. The drought one. We got a short little video about this program.
Let's try see if it'll work.
Mother Nature is an extremely hard taskmaster. The hardest boss that anybody could ever have, because there's no mercy. Probably half of my time is spent trying to use the water as efficiently as possible. You lose a few $100,000 year after year, you know, it's a tough goal.
We've had more dry years than we've had wet years, and I think that's become the norm.
The land is drier, the rangeland is drier, springs that we could usually count on being there are drying up. So it's a scary time.
The department right now is in the process of working through our agricultural water optimization program, and this is a way that we can help farmers and ranchers use their water more efficiently. If the opportunity is presented, farmers and ranchers want to do better with the resources that they have.
They're reaching out to producers, they're reaching out to other individuals saying, hey, look, here's what we're up against, here's what we're facing. How can we overcome this? The Department of Ag is always there backing you up.
Change and conservation and best practices are changing and evolving, and I am very willing to evolve with them. With the help of UDAF and NRCS, we've been able to adapt those practices more quickly.
With the limited availability of water, by increasing the efficiency, even on these drought years, we may be able to farm nearly all of our acres. And so without some help from the state, I wouldn't be able to do this.
No one knows better than us the finite resources that we have here. So I don't think there's anyone that could care more about the land and its health and the balance than the people that are living on it and working on it. It's the lifeblood. We all understand water is our lifeblood. We do our best to conserve it and to use it wisely, because without it, we're nothing.
Greg, you need to be a movie star. You're great.
Oh, no. I have no aspirations.
Kevin Costner.
You've got the contact there. Well, and the water optimization program that it talks about here, and it's a program that started in 2019 with a $3 million appropriation from the legislature. What this does is, as the video explained it, it helps farmers to increase the efficiency of their water use. Since the 2019 funding became available, we've administered over $50 million across 276 projects with a projected water savings of over 170,000 acre feet. Next one. So we're currently in another round of funding for the water optimization program, and so we will send a link for that program. And this is a 50-50 match. You can a grant can be up to $500,000, and so it's a great opportunity for individuals to go from open ditches or canals to piped or lined ditches, and it's a great opportunity for producers to improve in their water efficiency. We all know how important every drop of water is. I saw when we were in Israel, I saw a saying, more crop with every drop. And I think that's what we're all trying to get. Next, I'd like to just talk for a minute about the Ag Stress Assistance Program. We can go back to there. No, go back one on. Yeah, you were on the right one before. I got ahead of you there. The Ag Stress Assistance Program is a program that we are working with USU Extension Ag Wellness Program. What this does is provide a voucher for up to $2,000 for ag producers and their farmers and their families to receive mental health assistance. We all know that farming is a very stressful occupation, and we're hoping to provide farmers with some counseling and some help for them and their families. We also provide training for producers on how they can help other community members that may be having difficult times. We also train 988 crisis line responders statewide. And next we'll go talk about our Lee Ray McAllister Working Farm and Ranch Fund.
The preservation of ag land is very important. As we go and look at the acreage that is being developed right now, much of it is acreage that I never thought I would see developed in my lifetime. A lot of farmers go out there and they talk about the development, and they say, you know, those houses are the last crop that is ever going to be planted out there on that property.
When you have a place that has importance like this, you kind of want to have it last, and conservation easements are the way to do it.
Conservation easement is essentially an agreement between a private landowner and a nonprofit or a state or a federal agency to limit the amount of development that takes place on a piece of property. Essentially what you're doing is you are purchasing the rights to develop on that piece of property.
Working with the state and with the Nature Conservancy with our easement, we're really helping to protect a massive area of land that's critical for winter range, for migratory corridors, and it's really a special thing to know, you know, my kid can come back after I'm gone and be like, oh wow, you know, this is still the same. It still looks the same.
There isn't an inch on my either side that I haven't gathered the rock up, turned over the soil, so instead of being an investment, it now becomes part of my soul.
The protection of land utilized for agricultural production is one of the major goals that we have at the Department of Agriculture and Food. The Lee Ray McAllister program has been a very effective and a very useful program in the state of Utah over the last several years. Over $20 million has been put into the program, and well over $100 million in match has come in to be able to put this land into conservation easements. And so it's a very useful program, and I feel like it is continuing to build momentum.
Deciding to do a conservation easement on our ground was kind of a tough decision. I mean, we looked at it, and you know, the money situation is very different from whether you sell your ground or whether you put it into a conservation easement. And at the end of the day, we had to kind of look ourselves in the mirror and say, what's more important, our heritage, who we are, what we love doing, or money? And ultimately we decided that, you know what, it was worth the sacrifice to give up a little bit to be able to have the opportunity to do what we love.
Even people in the community, as they come, they know now that this property is going to remain open, that it will never be built on, and what a great legacy to leave our community.
So that video does share a lot of facts about the program, but the Lee Ray McAllister Fund has been with the state since the early 90s. But 2 sessions ago, they moved the Lee Ray McAllister Fund to the Department of Agriculture. I think Randy actually, you sat on the fund, or Quality Growth Commission. Yeah, so we got someone that's been way involved in it, but they moved it to the Department of Ag. They did give us 3 full-time employees to help administer the program. And this session, they gave us $3 million one-time funds to start the program. And we'll continue to fight for more. But they also passed a bill that will affect all counties, House Bill 371. But I know you're not seeing a lot of ag land develop, but as rollback taxes get paid by someone purchasing ag land, you now have to take 20% of that rollback tax and keep it and use it as a conservation easement in your county. So we're hoping that when you do have ag land and you do have that 20%, that you'll use our program to help match with state funds, and then we go out and try to match it with federal funds. So we're excited about this program. Again, it's definitely on everyone's mind of how much ag land's being developed, and we're excited that they put it with the Department of Ag so we can really focus on ag land preservation. So I think we also, this is a free service that we've provided to all agriculture producers is a mediation program. We have a full-time employee that helps with mediation issues. If a producer is struggling with federal agencies, maybe with their grazing allotments or AUMs or things like that, and we know that never happens, right, Lynn? It never happens. Yeah. We have an attorney, a mediator, a full-time mediator on staff that can help mediate between the federal agencies and the producers to hopefully keep them from going to litigation. So we've had a lot of producers take advantage of this. We hope that if there's any issues down here, that they'll use our mediator to try to keep them out of very expensive and long litigation. Great.
We really appreciate the time that we've been able to spend with you today, and just as a takeaway, we hope that as county leaders you can recognize the importance of agriculture in your county, and that as you make decisions that you can consider how the community benefits by agriculture, and that you can find a way to strengthen and encourage your ag producers and even processors in your area. So we're here to help, and as we said, we'll send you the links. We've given you some information here, and Kelly and I have given you our cards. So anytime you would like to, feel free to give us a call. We're anxious to help in any way that we can. So
Greg,
thank you very much.
We want to recognize you as San Juan County Commissioners for all the help that you provided in providing sheep during COVID. Down in our county, I know that several semi-loads of sheep were brought down here to the Native American community to help with their needs, and we know you were very, very involved in that, and we just want to publicly thank you for that help and everything else you do for us.
You bet. Well, and Kelly has to claim credit. I can't claim much credit for that, but Kelly can, and I think that we have a lot of good partners in the state. Farm Bureau is one of those partners, and I think they were involved in that effort too. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions that you might have? Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks. Next, we have a presentation by Lyman Duncan about 22-23 assessed values.
Yeah. Let me pull this up real fast.
What I've handed out is 2022-2023 assessment value comparison for San Juan County. It was presented by Kim Lacey, the liaison for San Juan County with the Utah State Tax Commission. And the document you have in your binder is only on one side. And so I wanted to give you a chance to look at all of them. We've had many values go up, but we've also had values such as Northwest Pipeline dropped by 1.3 million in the past year. And these are centrally assessed values. So the tax commission is performing these valuations. The large one on the second page is Mid-America Pipeline, dropped by $21.8 million. Lisbon Valley dropped about $760,000. Others have gone up, such as Paradox Midstream, went up about $600,000. And the large one on the back page would be our telecommunications. While it dropped 8.7 million, I believe my understanding is telecommunications are now appraised locally, so that number should be mediated somewhat by that. But we're close to $30 million in our centrally assessed value that has declined just from last year. So I just wanted to mention it's almost a 10% drop in the value of the centrally assessed properties. And we might consider either this year or next year looking at small increases, which would require a truth and taxation hearing to help meet the budget for San Juan County. So I just wanted to put it out there and let everybody know of my concerns about our property values declining. That's all I have, Commissioner.
Okay, so we get to blame you then, or?
Yes.
Well, what it means to the taxpayer is anytime assessed valuations go down on centrally assessed properties, there's automatically a move to raise the taxes on homes in the county. It's unfair. It's un-American. I'm opposed to it. Lynn Stevens and I tried to protest it several years ago. We failed. But it's just the way it goes. Thank you, Lyman.
Thank you.
We would now consider a motion to go into a public hearing to consider and approve an ordinance amending and updating San Juan County's code provision relating to administrative appeal. Do you want to speak to this before we go into it, Lynn? Before we go into the public hearing?
Go into the public hearing and then you
Okay.
can do that.
Do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
I motion that we go into public
Okay,
hearing.
we have a motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3 in favor. It's unanimous. All right, it's yours.
So you have kind of some talking points I put together, so they should be in front of you. I've been working with the county attorney's office and updating and kind of making sure that your ordinance involving administrative appeals are current and the best we can make them. Just framework. So I just decided a short-term rental case in Spanish Valley residential, and I've got 3 more that are pending in front of me. So for whatever reason, that particular issue is generating some administrative appeals. It's obviously not the only area that's appealable, and we'll go through that in this presentation. Let's start with the why. Why, and I discussed this the last time with you, but I want to go over it again. Why are administrative appeals or the process important for San Juan County? First, the county does in fact affect citizens, their property, and businesses by the actions you take. And so there ought to be, other than just going to court and litigation, there ought to be an interim process that allows the county to roll up its sleeve and address the matters that are concerning citizens, businesses, and property owners where the county is taking an action. You want an independent process. I live outside of San Juan County. I love this place, by the way, but I don't own property here. I don't have relatives here. I'm independent. And so when I'm acting in an independent way to address the matters. Fundamentally, you want an independent authority that revisits the facts that are relevant to the decision and looks at the legal framework. So the legal framework and the facts are really what I look at. And it's all done what's called de novo. That's a Latin word, county attorney, for starting over. You're going to look afresh at both the facts and the law. This review basically safeguards the rights of the citizens and the businesses and property owners, identifies and addresses errors that might have been made in the decision process, and reduces, and this is important for most jurisdictions, reduces the litigation costs. If we can solve the problem now, then you're not going to spend, and you've had a couple of cases that are classic where you spend millions of dollars in litigation and you end up actually where you started from the very beginning. So the ordinance you have in front of you, before we go to that, you already have Chapter 11 in your ordinance or in your code, which is a comprehensive administrative appeal chapter. That ordinance was drafted by Kendall Laws when he was the county attorney, and with Mac when he came in fairly soon after you became the county administrator. Isn't that correct? Okay. I had an opportunity to comment on it, so I was involved in it too. So there were basically 3 authors of that. It's a really good ordinance. What we're doing today is kind of putting some best practices and shoring it up, but the ordinance itself is already a very, very good ordinance. The things that I've recommended and work with your county attorney's office on are these things. We've added some purpose language, so that presentation I just gave you about purpose is now formally in the ordinance itself. We're shifting the appeal process from a hearing to a review. If you go abruptly to a hearing, you can't accomplish as much as you can through some pre-hearing activities. So that pre-hearing emphasis is part of the ordinance. We're giving the chief administrative officer the discretion, if he so chooses, to refer a grandma records denial appeal to me or to the administrative law judge if he chooses. State law says it goes to him, but in many jurisdictions, the senior administrative officer refers it to a hearing officer, to a judge. Also, recently, the state adopted a requirement for a hearing process for the county recorder's administration of the statewide standards, so that's also been added. We haven't had a rule disqualifying an administrative law judge. We've added that. So if a judge is biased, prejudiced, or has a personal interest in a matter, there can be a motion to disqualify, and then that administrative law judge should step aside from that particular matter. We're clarifying that the administrative law judge is a quasi-judicial officer, means you do some judicial functions, but you do some non-judicial functions, which include investigating matters as appropriate. We're also adding something that's very typical at the federal level, but doesn't always exist at the local level, and that's the ability to mediate. If I'm in the middle of something and I think, you parties should be able to figure this out, then I'm going to not necessarily force, but invite mediation with me kind of spurring it on. So if the parties can mediate the matter, that benefits the parties, including the county. I'm obviously not able to, I'm not authorized to consider an appeal of a legislative decision. So many times you as commissioners act with a legislative hat or with an administrative hat. If you act with an administrative hat, that's appealable when it comes to me. But if you're changing an ordinance's zone or you're acting consistent with your legal obligation on the ordinance side, then that's not appealable. And interestingly, sometimes when a matter is appealed, that's the first issue you have to decide. Is this legislative or administrative? We put in there pre-hearing conferences as a requirement, hearing management order if there's going to be a hearing. We're clarifying what I am able to do and what I shouldn't be doing. Regarding a decision that's made, I can affirm or reverse in whole or in part. I can also remand, and I want to talk about that in a minute, or modify a decision. That doesn't apply to employee discipline appeals based on state law. I can either uphold or reverse, but there's a process, and I won't go through all the details of that, but there's a process halfway through. If I think we're going in a direction where I don't think the discipline is consistent with the wrongdoing, I can refer it back temporarily to the department head or to MAC to revisit whether or not the discipline is appropriate. Let's talk about remand for a minute. So some of the appeals actually come from the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission has this fairly elaborate process where it looks at a variety of moving parts and then makes a decision, and then it could come to me on appeal. I'm reluctant to substitute my judgment for the Planning Commission. What I did in one case is I referred it back to the Planning Commission with some direction, but still allowing the planning commission at the end of the day to make the decision. So that would be a case where I would send it back to the county body rather than just making the decision on my own. It's kind of what I'll know when I see it. I don't know. I've only done it once, and I may do it in the future. But the reality is, I feel uncomfortable because I'm not appointed or an elected official sitting in that job to substitute my judgment for you in certain matters. So that's kind of what we're talking about. Mitch and I worked on the next one, which is the daily fine. So there is a provision in there for an assessment of a penalty if there's a violation that continues over time and the party's not correcting it. So we talked together. Our recommendation to you is a $200 per day fine for continuing violations of the code, up to a maximum of $3,000 for a single violation. We thought that was within reasonable amount. We talked about $10,000. We talked about $1,000 a day, and so kind of that's where we ended up. That would be our recommendation to you. If you have different feelings, obviously let us know. But these don't happen very often, but if somebody's persistently desiring to ignore your ordinance, then there ought to be some penalty associated with it, and that would be it. I'm required, or the administrative law judge is required at the end of an appeal process to submit an administrative law or administrative record. That goes to Brittany's office. She then certifies it, and it's kept as a record of that decision for whatever period of time that's required. I've added in there, or I've made clarified in that an employee who's terminated or whose job changes because they're not fit for duty, they have an appeal right. It was kind of referenced in there, but it wasn't as clear as it needed to be. So we've added language regarding employees who are not fit for duty. And a footnote there: if your physician decides an employee is not fit for duty, and the employee's physician says they are fit for duty, typically what an administrative appeal authority will ask for is funding for me to go out and hire a third physician to figure out what's going on, because I'm not a physician and I can't figure that out. So typically what would happen in this case is I'd go to MAC and I say, I need funding to get a third physician to come in, or a medical provider to help me sort through this. So that's kind of how that process would work. Employee grievances, I'll go to Mac, but he has a discretion to refer them to me if there's a particular conflict or something he feels he can't handle. There's a provision in here: you are the appeal authority for finance and revenue challenges by state law, acting as the Board of Equalization. And I don't know, have they acted as the Board of Equalization? Yes. Okay. Under this, you're still the Board of Equalization. You can hear them, but at your discretion, you can refer them to me. So that's put in there. It doesn't mean that you have to, but you have that option of referring to me. If you want to do that, then I have to go. To get some training, which I'm willing to do. But I wanted to get your head nod on that today. If that's what you want, then I will go get the state training to make sure that I'm able to handle any referrals to me that come to me. So. We are going through, as you probably know, the county is going through the process of adopting a new land use code. And so we're kind of in this transitional period. So I worked with Scott Burton and with the attorney's office. What we've done is we've created an appeal chapter here that will be the same appeal chapter in your new ordinance. And so we want to adopt one ordinance that's going to apply for an extended period of time. So this new language is in this ordinance, but it's intended to be Chapter 5 in your new land use ordinance. So it's pretty straightforward. It does adopt the state statutory standing requirement, which is relatively new, so that brings it in. It requires me or invites me to make sure that a property owner who may not be a party to the appeal is invited to be an intervening party, so they can be at the table when there's an appeal process. It clarifies that an appeal is de novo. and that I can grant variances. This is all land use. There were certain provisions in your code that were silent on the question of administrative appeals. It was kind of assumed that it was out there, but what we've done is we've inserted, this is your last page on your handout. In each one of these areas, we've inserted specific language saying that a violation of these codes is appealable to the administrative law judge. Board of Health and Health Officer, Health Department, a challenge or a protest to a contract bid, claims of constitutional takings, animal control violations, fire code violations, suspensions or revocation of business licenses, including alcohol licenses, and then building code violations. Those all now have specific language referring back to Chapter 11, the appeals process. So that's kind of an overview of what we've done. I've done it collaboratively with your county attorney's office, so they've been very aware of it, and Mac's been aware of it too. So if there are any questions, I can answer now, or after the public hearing, I can answer questions too. So,
Any questions?
I'll wait till after the public hearing. Maybe I'll have some.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now that the ordinance has been presented, the amending and updating our ordinance, is there any in the public that would like to make a comment? If there's any online, please raise your hand. Any in the audience? Seeing none, I'll consider a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll motion.
Motion by Jamie,
I'll second.
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. It's unanimous. Now,
I guess I can answer any questions if you have
Okay.
any. If not, this is not intended to be complex. It's actually pretty straightforward. But what we're doing is we're cleaning it up and we're making sure that it's. Just so you know, I'm working with St. George City to do the same thing. Harriman City has asked me to do the same thing. So kind of statewide, there's many jurisdictions that are trying to update or improve their administrative code provisions. So.
Use it as well. Yeah.
I just
Right,
want
right.
to make a comment. When I first got this, I wish I had a law degree, but with your explanation and everything, it makes sense. I wasn't sure where it was coming from or whatever, but anyway, so yeah, I appreciate you were very good explaining. I just want to do something for the people that are here. This is what we get. For each meeting, this is for today's meeting. And so this time was 420 pages, no, 412 pages. And I'm not complaining because it's a good thing, because it gives me information. But I just want the people to know that we just don't come and sit and listen to our agenda. We have lots of material prepared. It takes lots of time to be put together. And I appreciate you coming and explaining this to us, because it was nice to have read it before I came, and then here and then, it was just so easy to understand.
There's something that Mac and Brittany probably will talk to you about at some point. So, and this just happened. So I had a very controversial case that's also had some political overtones. It involved short-term rentals in the Spanish Valley area. And I worked very, very hard on the case, and I published a decision that now is the decision for San Juan County in the interpretation of the zoning code in that area. And when I'm finished, I'm finished. I don't advertise. I'm done. But you need to be aware that when there's decisions that are being made on controversial subjects, my homework and my decision become relevant to you, and how you get briefed on that and access it. That's between the attorney's office and Mac. But there's going to be those times when I will decide something, that you need to factor in your decision process. So sometimes it'll mean, we could have a better ordinance. The judge points this out, and he's right, but maybe the ordinance could be a little bit better. So I have to follow the ordinance. I can't create a new ordinance for you. Mm-hmm. I have to apply it as it's written. So anyway, I'm pontificating. Maybe I shouldn't, but the reality is I'm connected with you through that process of decision making that I'm involved in. So
this administrative appeal process has been really good for San Juan County, and it's saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal costs. We really appreciate Lynn coming back and being our administrative judge here.
I was out of pocket for 18 months on a LDS mission, so I'm back again.
Yep.
I like it because it takes care of something before it gets too out of hand.
Yep.
I call the shovel effect.
And I want to emphasize this is as much as a benefit for the citizens as it is for the county.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not just the county trying to protect its backside. This is offering the citizens a legitimate, fair process to raise issues of concern to themselves. So this is a balanced process.
And it helps us in many ways, us not only dealing with public, with our employers and things like that. And I think it's nice for everybody to feel like they have a place where they can talk and thank you.
Okay, now we should take a vote on the ordinance right at this point. Do we have a motion to approve the amended ordinance?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended ordinance.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Sylvia and Jamie. We'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. So I guess we've got a new ordinance or an amended ordinance, Lynn.
And you and Lyman will be signing the document. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Appreciate it.
Okay, Tammy, you want to present your plan? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll be quick. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Okay. Yeah, because 100 pages of that 400 documents.
It is. That is exactly.
Our plan, it's our area plan. We have to do it up until this year. We've been required to do it yearly. The Office of Substance Abuse and Mental Health, they've changed it to where it is now a 3-year plan. They've looked at our plans and they're like, they really don't change that much from year to year. So the plan that I'm asking for you to guys approve is our 2024 and 2026 plan. It's a 3-year plan. So not a whole lot has changed from last year to this year. There's some wording changes. They've asked for some different things. The area plan is pretty basic. It's what they ask us to do, what we think we're going to do over the next few years with the funding that we receive. It is broken down into 3 different categories. There's a section for mental health, there's a section for substance use disorder, and there's a section for substance use prevention. And that's what we write the plan to. I also have to do a budget according to the funding that we get. That's the bad thing for me, is the write-up for the area plan is for 3 years. I'll still have to do a budget every year. I don't know if I'll need to bring that back to you guys for approval or not. That's yet to be determined. So I don't know if you guys have any questions on the area plan. It's really fun reading.
Yeah, that's well written. I had worked with proposals, so I wasn't sure if this was a program. The program is an ongoing program. It's just a change in the format, how to do things, or was this kind of like a grant that you're requesting for the funds? The funds are already been allocated, and just the procedure of the program is what is changing.
So yeah, because by state law, because of the funding that we receive through the legislature, we have to have an area plan. Okay. And so they're just, and it covers all of our funding sources. It covers, I even write to what we spend in Medicaid funds and private insurance funds. And so it's not a new thing. It's just they've moved from 1 year to 3 years.
I was very impressed. And then I was thinking, wow, if it was a new program coming, I thought that, but you're already doing it. So
Yeah, it's
thank
not
you.
a new program, and to be honest, they like to throw new programs at us with each new legislative year. Sometimes new funding comes up with new programs. I'm assuming if that happens in the next 3 years, we'll have to amend our area plan and add parts to it. Like I said, I'll have to amend the budget every year. I'll have to change the budget every year because that's only a 1 year thing. They don't like to guarantee more than 1 year funding at a time because that's how they are. So, but
Thank
that's
you.
where
This
we're
is
at.
lots of work to put it together.
It is a lot. I have a really good clinical director. Aaron Duke wrote a lot of it. So
That's good.
Yeah, Jamie.
I just have a question about the plan itself. Is there anything new to this plan that is different from previous plans?
no, there's the plan really only changes when new funding comes in. We change some wording here and there. If we start new evidence-based practices, then that'll be put in the plan in different spots. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same as last year.
Are there any new areas that are being focused on with the plan? Or any new services that might be added in addition to the plan?
Not specifically written in the plan. The plan is pretty general and it doesn't really kind of drill down into our different locations. I spoke last time I was here. We're starting an office here in Monticello. We've bought the building in Mexican Hat.
They go through?
I think so.
I was going to ask, but I wasn't sure if it was appropriate to ask that.
Yeah, so we paid for it, and it's looking like it's gonna go through. We're actually spending time tomorrow. Our whole staff is going down to work on the building, and so we're going to be focusing our efforts there. And Montezuma Creek, our building down there, we're doing a good remodel there to get it looking better. So nothing new, just trying to grow a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, you ready to make a motion?
Yep, I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Motion by Jamie, a second by Sylvia to approve the San Juan Counseling Area Plan for the next 3 years. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
All right, thank you, and thank
Good.
you for your support.
Oh, thank you for your work.
Just I need you to sign that.
Congrats on your staffing level as well in there. It had noted that you're back to full capacity. Last year we were struggling to get counselors.
Yeah, we had a rough couple years, and we've kind of gone over that hump,
awesome.
and we're
You can
just
do the
gonna
rest.
keep our fingers crossed that.
We don't steal them from you and you don't steal them from us. And
So did you bring him for some moral support?
Yeah,
Thank you for coming.
he's a bodyguard.
And tell your staff that we thank them too.
yes.
Thank you.
Grant, you have the next 3 items. I'm just going to make a blanket statement. I don't think we're opposed to any of them. So if you can keep it kind of brief, I think we'll go through them quickly.
Okay. The first is quite straightforward. Lois Young has been on our Board of Health. Oh, good afternoon, by the way. Thanks for the welcome. And the Town of Bluff and the Board of Health have both approved her for a second term as a board member, and just have that as
You have a
presented
motion
for
to
your
approve.
I'll do a motion to approve.
Motion by Sylvia,
Second.
second by Jamie. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay.
A quick personal note on the Monticello Cancer Screening Program to introduce it. I really appreciate Commissioner Adams when I was being interviewed and being open about this particular very important topic and very
Mhm.
personal topic here for our Monticello community and so many people who have also worked here and maybe live elsewhere now. My own father served in Desert Shield and Desert Storm and was exposed to something, we're not really sure, but he did develop bone marrow cancer 10 years after his service and passed away soon after that at the age of 45. So this has a strong personal nature for me. As I described here in the staff report, as we've been recovering from the substantial impact of COVID-19 pandemic and trying to manage that and reduce its impact, and now you may have heard the emergency status has ended, so now we're trying to wrap that up, as it were, but still prevent COVID-19 and its spread and deaths, etc. Part of that has just been our limited capacity to manage this well, and so Mac, Brittany Carlson, our nursing director, and I have talked about, okay, we have some funding here through the COVID-19 crisis workforce grant to hire another nurse and then supplement this short-term health services and resource administration grant that would help us restart the Monticello cancer screening program. And so that's part of what I've tried to package here as a transition when we have a public health nurse retiring in a year, and this could allow a new nurse to hopefully be recruited and hired and trained for that time period. Again, thanks to this combination of the cancer screening program funding, which I plan to apply for an extension, since you can see the time frame that's currently remains is short. But we are able, now that we're 3 months from that deadline, I can submit for an extension on that. Other components that I'll just note real quick is two part-time community marketing coordinators to help promote the program, people that are well connected in the community, as well as contracting with a cancer epidemiology consultant to make sure we're in line with the epidemiological needs and the clinical needs of this screening program. So you can kind of see the overview though of those expenses. Some that might be not so clear is that some of this will be reimbursed to clinics that perform these screenings, and that's a large portion. That's the most substantial portion of it. There's also travel that we have talked with Utah Navajo Health System. They already have a non-medical transport system, and non-emergency medical transport system, and we were able to provide that funding to them if someone needs help travel. Overall, way I'm viewing this is a pilot program, start local, see how things are going, and then hopefully this will get refunded for another phase, and we can scale out larger, since like I said, all the people who have lived here or worked here, right, we don't know exactly where they are, right? How do we also channel this funding to help them get screened, be they across the border here in Colorado somewhere, right, or even further? And there's some logistical details that I want to work through during this first phase as a pilot program. So how's that for a
Good.
quick overview?
On H, the other, is that for the actual screening, the money to be expended for the actual screening process? 371?
Sorry, I'm double checking. There's an attachment that has a little more detail there. Let's see, it's, sorry about this. So other has advertising, actually, and then let's see.
How much of the $520,000 is to pay for actual screening expenses?
Okay, there it is. We have a clinical voucher and reimbursement as a line. Sorry, this is on page 194. Max, sorry about the long attachments. But yeah, so we have 101,000 for physical exams, 218,000 for cancer screenings as well. So total of approximately 319,000 for the clinical aspect. But potential for more, just kind of depending on how this rolls out. But that's the minimum goal.
Well, I'm just a little bit concerned about the amount of administrative expense in this thing, where we have over $500,000 given to have people get screenings, and looks like 200,000 of it's going somewhat to administrative
See, so
expenses.
some details there, maybe on 193. Yep, you got it. Thanks, Mac. So some of that is just the work in terms of making sure this is all set up. Like I said, a public health nurse overseeing it, and some of those team members getting the word out and getting people into the program. 83,355 for that personnel, and then 22,000 for those fringe benefits. Up to 35,000 for the patient travel, and that was based on an estimate. Sorry, that got cut off a little bit there, but that was based on the budget that Utah Navajo Health System, and really rough estimate in terms of like how far are people going to need to travel in the county, or up to, say, Huntsman in Salt Lake City. Have a radiation survey meter there in case people are concerned about something on their property that might be radioactive. And our environmental health director is able to oversee that based on his training. And some supplies, 6,000, 1,000 for that epidemiology consultant, and then let's see, 52,000 for advertising.
Previously, when we'd had these cancer screenings, were they done by the local clinics? Did they involve the health department previously?
So there's a little bit of description there. Southeast Health Department, when we were part of Southeast, is how it was administered before. From what I hear, they would help evaluate someone's basic background. Oh, did you live here during this time? Did you work here during this time? And then be able to send them with a form to the clinic, and that clinic would then be able to perform the screening and then submit for payment through the program. Is that a pretty good description?
Yeah,
what you've learned about it, Mac?
Clayton Holt, the director of
for
the hospital here, he was instrumental in helping us set this up, where you have the vouchers, the clinical voucher reimbursement. Our locals can certainly go to him or Blue Mountain or UNHS,
right.
And that's an important caveat. We feel that a lot of individuals have moved out of the area, and we want to make sure that if they were a resident of San Juan County, they've moved out, they can also use these vouchers elsewhere. And so not just specifically here to Monticello, that we're trying to capture the full breadth. Especially, we realize that some individuals would have been Native American working here, traveling back and forth.
Right.
They may be in Phoenix. And so that's where you kind of see this higher cost in employees, as well as because public health, we've never had an individual that does marketing, that's their whole thing. And it's like, how do we get the word out to those people that have moved away? I mean, our census, it kind of points to that, as we're a negative 2% on our growth, and people are moving out. Well, what's the mechanism that we put together to market the program there? Because we think that there's been a lot of people that have moved out. We've been fortunate with Steve Young and his coalition and his help and his efforts, and they recognize that fact, as well as that some people that used to work for the mill are gone, some passed away, but then there's those kids. So their kids don't realize that they have an opportunity for these free cancer screens because they were a part of it. They lived here during that time. So it's going to be tricky, but that's where
logistically,
if we hire these marketing individuals, then hopefully we can task them with trying to get the word out, not just in the San Juan Record.
Right.
It's got to be a bigger broadcast area.
Perhaps through our historical societies, right? Looking at some of the high school yearbooks, things like that.
Okay.
But I appreciate, being able to clarify. There's that 319,000 that's at minimum dedicated to clinical activities. screenings themselves.
Okay, so that's the budget there.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Motion by Jamie, a second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. It's unanimous. Okay.
And we'll have to be mindful of the nursing shortage right now too, similar to some of the other discussions. Just saw a posting from
Yeah, and
one
I
of
think
our competitors, that so-called competitors, but also partners.
Yeah.
And how do we manage that, right? So
one of the messages, I mean, for years, the federal government, the state of Utah have been doing a site-specific survey of individuals and kind of monitoring the cancer clusters and the specific cancers that were caused from the mill. They had told us last year that, hey, we're going to stop monitoring. We're like, no,
oh, right.
You cannot stop monitoring. The federal government, they own this mill. They own the responsibility. It doesn't go away. And hopefully we can re-engage. It was the University of Utah, I believe.
It was the state of Utah,
The state of
which
Utah,
they're
okay.
meant to be my colleagues, and so that's something I will be. I'm need to actively revisit this because it was a major concern that they published that report.
Well,
And
the
I
unfortunate thing is that the state cancer registry doesn't count anybody that moved from Monticello
That's right.
and lived someplace else, even though
Absolutely.
this is where it happened.
That's what we told them.
And it's
the same thing.
been a flawed
Yes.
So
registry from day one.
I know the state epidemiologist quite well, and so it's one of my high priority items. Also visited with Dr. Contreras at Westminster, who was involved in that earlier study that was conducted in a more robust way. So he reviewed that and agreed with our assessment, by the way. So, okay, thank you. All right, so next, Environmental Health Service Delivery Plan here. This is effectively our partnership with the Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ. You can see some keywords here: air, water, and soil, and various ways those three can become contaminated through various means, right? So this is actually funded differently from most of our other contracts. Most of our other contracts were reimbursed. We perform the services, and then the state via from the feds would reimburse us. This one is actually paid in quarterly installments. You can see the total being $73,498 for this next fiscal year. This is one that actually is funded fairly well for us. We have some other aspects of environmental health where I am currently in negotiations to see if we can increase the state investment in our own local environmental health. But this one is actually fairly well done, fairly well funded. So present this. It really does not change much from the previous year. You can see, again, those three categories of environmental health that our environmental health director oversees.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the Environmental Service, Health Department Environmental Service Delivery Plan?
A motion to approve.
Motion by Jamie,
A second?
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay, Grant.
Thank you. Next, the Public Health Infrastructure Grant. This is, I consider this an extension of what I had presented before, the COVID-19 health disparities grant, trying to help us both understand and address the reason for us having such a high death rate of COVID-19, especially during that first two waves of COVID. And I'll be showing you a report on that very soon, COVID-19 being tied for third leading cause of death over the previous 5 years, even though the pandemic only lasted the last 3 years. So, so this helps us look at our overarching public health infrastructure. The first year, you can see how it's titled Foundational Capabilities. So we can take a look during the first year, assess how's our both internal public health system in the public health department, as well as our partners. Since public health, we can't do it alone. Some of our key partners being here in the room as well. We're in the prevention business, right? So we really appreciate those that are addressing issues after they happen, but we're trying to also be part of that team and go in what we call upstream. And so here we want to work with, really expand our coalitions to make sure we include all cities, counties, tribes, academic organizations, right, and states in our region. One example of this issue is that when I was looking at the data of the last few years, COVID-19 hospitalizations were lower than our deaths, according to the data. Now think about that for a second. The hospitalizations were lower than the deaths. And I'll explain my best understanding of that is because when someone's hospitalized for various reasons, right, where do they go? It's not so much in the county. They're shipped somewhere else, right? Grand Junction, Farmington, Shiprock, et cetera. And so what I'm hoping we can do is kind of assess that system. And again, this is just hospitalizations. I want to go upstream from there too, but that's one example, right? We're not really well connected as a public health system in this region. And so I'd like to partner with academic institutions so that's one level of it, kind of our internal, external system. And then second part is making sure we have a pathway. Similar to what was shared earlier, thanks to Utah State, right, is to say, how do we have local students learning about public health, working on projects as internships, and then preparing them for public health careers, or even if they go somewhere else, you know, in law or something else, that they have that background, like, oh, looking at public health and prevention as a paradigm. So you can see this is funded for 5 years through 2027, and a little bit more during the first year, again, for assessment, but then a steady amount, $328,000 across those years for this workforce development. And that this has potential to continue what was called a health equity coordinator position, and we can just kind of reclass that potentially to help support this grant. So.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Jamie,
I'll second.
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Grant.
Thanks.
Pressure was on.
Thank you.
Covered a lot today. Thanks for including me.
Okay. Jed here.
He's not. He went up to Salt Lake. There was an awesome conference on what to do with mattresses in a landfill that we sent him up to. That's been the bane of the landfill for years.
You present his item then?
Yep, I will. So, in last year's budget, kind of the summary of it is we had allocated funds for a new semi-truck, a new semi-hauler for the big bins. We have one, but our backup is in terrible, poor condition, and so we needed to upgrade that. However, more importantly was the dozer. We took the dozer in. The initial cost we figured was estimated around $45,000. In actuality, it came up to $126,211.72. He has this in the budget if he doesn't purchase the semi truck, and so we figured we'd hold off on the semi, put that to next year, and fix the dozer this year. There's some remaining work that needs to be done on the equipment, but we feel that even next year with the maintenance budget that is allocated, that he'll be able to cover those repairs at a later date. But this puts the dozer back into working condition in better shape than it was, and it'll make it last a lot longer than buying a new one, which would be probably 5 times the cost.
Do you have a motion to approve the request?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion by Jamie,
A second.
second by Sylvia. Any further questions?
No questions.
Where's the dozer? I'm gonna be like my little grandson. What kind of machine is it?
It's a Caterpillar, just a
Caterpillar,
big, I think it's a D9 Cat, if I remember right. So they use it to push down and squash the garbage, bring in and level the dirt.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Next on our agenda is number 15, consideration and approval of local consent form of off-premises alcohol sales at Family Dollar Store in Montezuma Creek. Lyman?
Okay. I was contacted 6 or 8 months ago about alcohol sales at the Family Dollar in Montezuma Creek,
And I had felt through my research that the property belonged to the Navajo Nation, so I referred them back to the Navajo Nation several times. And finally, it came to light that the property was owned by a group of investors based in Logan, Utah, that owned the building. And they have now applied for this consent form to go forward. And the way the state of Utah handles alcohol licenses is they'll ask for a consent form to the local authority, in this case, which would be the county, for permission for them to proceed forward to the state alcohol department, and there they will file an application to receive a state license. With that state license, they'll return to the county commission and ask for a county license to offer.
So is this a beer license or an alcohol license?
A beer.
It's a beer license.
Beer
then?
license, yes, to sell.
So they don't just come to the county and get a beer license?
They will, and that's the third step. This would be the first step, then the state, and then back here for the final step. But it's up to the commission to decide the direction they would like to do. I don't know what the next steps would be if you refused it, and so we'll go from there. Thank you.
Okay, what do you want to do, commissioners?
I just want to make a comment. I did trying to find out if this was a new license. I repeat it in case somebody's wondering. This is a new license.
Yes.
And the reason, and my question was, why there's so many things we cannot do as a county and inside the reservation. So I have my question, how come we're doing it? But then you explained it because it's a private property. Is there public hearing for this kind of feeling? My feeling is not to do it because I just think that if it's not a license there, and I agree with the comments for a person from the Annex chapter that there is already lots of problem with alcohol, and the other problem is compounded because when they're in need of help is a long way in coming. And there's having her work with children in my former job where parents were drinking, little children start drinking it too. When the parents fell asleep, they start drinking it. And I think it seems like it would be, I don't feel good about so I don't know how Commissioner Hubbard feels. He lives in the area, and so, but that is my personal opinion. I think if people really want to get it, they can go get it someplace else, you know. But,
well, they can get it in Montezuma Creek.
Yeah.
There's already an establishment there to get it.
At the other end of the community.
Yeah, and you explained that to me already. So
yeah.
I just thought about adding, especially where it's a store where family and children, everybody goes, and I don't know. I feel like I cannot support it, but.
Do we have a motion to approve or deny either one?
Motion to deny.
Okay, we have a motion to deny by Jamie.
I'll second.
We have a second by Sylvia. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay, next. Yeah.
I'd like to ask Lyman, did you say that property had once belonged to the Navajo Nation?
No, I had always assumed it belonged to the Navajo Nation. And I don't know where I got that from. Okay. And as we kind of pressed, and finally they showed us the owner, who the ownership was, which is good to know, at least for the taxing and assessing of that property. But at that point, they said, now that we've established this, we would like to apply and go forward in the process for a off-premise beer license.
So who currently owns it?
A group out of Logan, It's my understanding.
Okay.
I don't
But
know.
it was previously owned by the Navajo Trust Fund. And that's one of the rare occasions when we in the Navajo Trust Fund Board and all approved the sale of any of that land to a private organization.
Okay, next two items are TJ Adair. Is TJ here?
TJ has been there.
Can you hear me?
You bet.
Yeah. We're just glad we can't see you.
Feelings mutual.
Go ahead.
Okay, so last year we bought 4 lifts for the blading shop. If you remember, we got rid of the underground pit. Went to lifts. To get our graders in the air, we needed 2 more of them, and so we didn't have enough money in the budget last year for all 6. And so these are for 2 additional for the south shop to be able to lift our graders, and that heavy equipment just keeps getting heavier. And so that's what it is. It's the exact same manufacturer, so they're compatible. They all lift at the same time. It's in my budget this year for these additional 2 lifts.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So I'd like you to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Jamie,
Now second.
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Next, Todd.
So we've been getting some push blades for our blades. They go on the front. They help with snow removal, rocks right now with all the rocks that are sliding down on the roads. And so I've got one more that I need to get for right now that we've got. So they're what we've been using, go on the front of them. So it's just an additional blade, helps us with snow removal and moving debris.
If you buy this, will it snow next year?
Well, we're buying it to move the rocks off from all the flooding.
We have a motion to
We use
approve.
it for snow.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay, TJ.
Now,
Thank you.
now your heads are safe. You talk about that lift.
Okay, next we have Jay Begay, the Drug and Crimes and Task Force Coordinator. Go ahead, Jay.
Hi, yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So what I have here is a 2024 grant that we've been receiving at the Major Crimes and Task Force, Major Crimes and Drug Task Force over the last couple of years. This is an annual grant that we apply for, and we receive funds to pay overtime, pay for equipment, also pay to send our agents to training. And so this is there's no fiscal impact. It's just the only thing is the county has to pay the task force spending up front, which gets reimbursed every quarter by the CCJJ.
You said the right word, Jay. Grant. Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Jamie,
I'll second.
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay, you can go ahead, Jay.
Thank you very much.
Next is Nicole Perkins, library issues here.
No good stuff. It's a lot scarier coming here. We just have, this will be quick. We have an opportunity. This is a memorandum of understanding between UETN and the San Juan County Library System so that we can get fiber optic to the LaSalle Library, which is just a small portion, part of a building that we lease right now from the community center there. And what this understanding, what this will do is to solidify an agreement so that the UETN will agree to take on all the costs of both the NRA non-recurring costs to for installation and equipment to get fiber optic there, as well as the MRA, the monthly recurring costs, which would have cost us, which we wouldn't have done because we don't have the money to do it, almost $40,000 to do that. And then if you add in the installation and the equipment, it would be over $40,000. And so this is just to get the see if the commissioners would agree to this. And their goal is to do a site walkthrough with the librarian there and myself and Michaela. Hopefully we can get all three of us there to go through and have them give a little training on the equipment. Another really great part of this, I'll just tell you this real quick, because I know IT-wise it's hard to have one person go throughout. They have agreed that anytime we have any issue with the equipment or with the fiber optic or the connection, that there is a number that we call and we have a contact person that comes out to fix whatever the issue is or walk us through on the phone, but mostly they will come out and take care of that. We have had something similar like this in the past approved where we have fiber optic that they also pay for all the MRC and NRC with Bluff Library, Montezuma Creek Library. So it's worked really well in the past. And this contract would be good up until I think 2028 or 2027, and then we have the option to extend it for another year. And there, like I said, there's no cost to the county for this.
Thank you.
Fiber is good most of the time.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it is. The reason we're doing it is, or looking into this and excited about it, is the LaSalle connection there. The library and the community center is very spotty and not real strong. And although we still get quite a few patrons that come and sit outside the building to use our Wi-Fi.
We have a motion to approve.
I was just going to say, I just visited LaSalle 2 days ago.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's the first time in my life. Anyway,
Oh,
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Sylvia, second by Jamie. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks.
Mac?
Okay, item number 20, we've got consideration and approval of the Economic Mobility and Opportunity Cohort Grant Sub-Grant Agreement of $35,000 from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Economic Mobility and Opportunity Program through the International City County Management Association. This was the grant that we were awarded several months ago. Premise behind this grant is to work with our local chapters, local tribes, just to try to figure out baseline, are there barriers that prevent Native Americans getting into government sector jobs here in the county, where half of our population is Native American. You would think that that would also resonate through these jobs. It doesn't, and so we're trying to figure out why and what we can do to basically grow our community so that they can be raised here and stay here, make a good living, and then retire here.
It's always good to get some of Bill Gates' money in the county. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Jamie, second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. That's approved. Scott, you have a few items.
All right, so first one on your agenda is the rezone application for the Balanced Rock Resort. Right, let me get to the right page. Is that the right one?
I know, I'm trying to get there too.
Okay, so this, as explained in the staff report, we held a public hearing at the Planning Commission in March for this item, for this rezone application. The board asked for some additional clarification on overnight accommodations overlay, which came back, the legal opinion came back that it could be applied to the residential flex area. At the April 13th meeting, the Planning Commission discussed this again and voted to give a positive recommendation to the county commissioners, with the voting being 3 in favor and 2 opposing. I know several of the concerns you've heard today in your public comment portion, and they again were several of the similar concerns that were shared during the public hearings and the meeting when they voted to recommend this. Several of those concerns lie in the general plan, or in the Spanish Valley area plan, excuse me, which is a part of the general plan. And you know, those concerns reference that area plan, which I guess I just encourage you to recognize and realize that area plan is like a high altitude guide for that area. Doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, and even some of these says that it generally, the residential flex area generally, flex areas are generally close to the highway. You know, this is still within a mile of the highway. So these things are meant to be a guide to help planning. Some of the comments that were made that maybe weren't passed on to you, Elaine Gisler, the Economic Development Director, she did make a comment about, and I thought this was very appropriate, how this development, the plan that they have for this development is a holistic plan. It's more of a planned community rather than just small lots being chopped up and done as the rest of the private land is doing currently in Spanish Valley. So this is a larger tract of private land that would allow to be more master planned rather than just kind of carved up into subdivision and into individual lots. So there's some of those benefits. There are, you know, some of those concerns. The developer has also recognized and has expressed an interest in working with the county to solve some of those concerns with potential buffer areas for affordable housing with some deed restrictions and that type of thing were also discussed with the Planning Commission. So a lot of those details, though, the Planning Commission decided that they would just forward on a recommendation to you for the rezone, and that the future planned community, the PC zone plan, would be a future discussion. That if this was something you felt like could be rezoned, that this would be a future discussion to determine the number of uses, which a lot of that is in your information. They've created a complete preliminary community structure plan, but the Planning Commission thought, let's wait on that and let's see if the County Commission will approve a rezone first.
So all we're doing is dealing with rezoning. We're not actually dealing with the planned community itself. My first question is, have we satisfied the road superintendent as far as ingress, egress, and roads?
He has some concern about that, and that would be part of that. That was part of the discussion. They said, roads and all of that. Let's have that in a future discussion. And that's the recommendation that the Planning Commission has made, is that you know. And again, it was a tight vote. There were a couple that voted against it, and 3 voting for it. So they recommended this be approved, and then that we would consider all the road.
All of that will come later, and there'll be another presentation to the Planning and Zoning Committee. And
Planning and Zoning Commission, then it'll come to you again for your, and that PC zone plan, it's the same one that SITLA's going through.
Yeah.
So if this gets approved, then they will come to you with the PC zone plan, only this is a small community because it's not, I think it has to be 100 acres to be a large community. This one's 20 acres. At minimum has to be 20 acres to be a small planned community. So this process would come back.
So is the overall plan 72 acres or not?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. 72.27 acres.
Sylvia. Question?
Yeah, but you asked that question, so you answer it. Well, I have been to all the the zoning planning commission meetings, so I felt that was very important for me to, when something like this come before me, that I can understand and see the process. And I just sit quiet in the back and listen. And I also have received letters from people in the community, and I don't want to make them feel like I'm ignoring them, but we are a poor county, and while the way I think about for the future of the county, if we don't start generating more funds, there's no way that we can go back to the people in Manistee and Blanding for more taxes. I just want to tell my parents-in-law live in the quietest little neighborhood in Provo with little spring going through and birds singing. When the Provo Temple was built, the busiest street was built in front of them. They moved to Hebrew Valley, got all this acreage. Well, guess what? Again, they couldn't have the quietness, and I understand that. I understand missing that. I sympathize with that, what they're saying, but I feel like as a commissioner, I feel the responsibility to leave something for the future generations for them to come back. I want to be a San Juan County. I mean, we've been chopped off in every direction, and so I just wanna, because I know that people are listening. I listen to you, but I know I can't make everybody happy, and I have to think about the future of the county. Where's the money's gonna come? We have lots of service, a large area to provide the service. We either start chopping services or figure out ways to create opportunity not only for our children from Blanding and the rest of the county, but also the children down south.
Monticello.
Monticello. I said like it's supposed to be. No, it's Monte is a mountain, Monticello. Anyway, but the children from the Navajo Strip, I want them to be opportunity for them too, because they're tied to the land. Our children, if they want to leave, they're going to leave. But the children down south, they're tied to the land, and I want opportunity for them. Anyway.
Are you ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Have a motion and a second to approve the rezoning. Is that right? What we're doing? Rezoning. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay, your next one, Scott.
Okay, the next one is a subdivision amendment in Spanish Valley as well. This is the Lonesome Left Estates subdivision amendment number 6. This is a single lot that is being split into 2 lots. So yeah, that's as shown on here. This went through the Planning Commission as well. And yeah, there's shown on that the easement that is being added to access lot 10C 1B. So
One single lot being split into 2. Do we have a motion to approve? I guess the planning zoning approved, right?
Yeah,
Do we have a motion to approve?
Is it a zoning change?
No, it's a lot, split one lot into 2.
Okay.
subdivision amendment, yeah.
Is this it, Scott, that we're on?
Not yet. This
Okay.
one's the lot 22. It's just the
Item 22.
So did I pass it? I just want to make sure we're looking at the right one.
yeah.
This
No, keep going.
is
Sorry, you're still in the 21. There was a lot of information for
okay.
because that whole community structure plan was in there.
If the planning and zoning recommended it, I don't see a problem.
I don't have a problem.
I'll make a motion to.
Motion by Jamie,
A second?
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Next, Scott.
Okay, the next item, and actually kind of the next 2 items are kind of together. I don't know if you'll remember, the San Juan Townhomes project came for the Spanish Valley Overnight Accommodations overlay in April of 2022. And they were approved for that overlay for their project so that they could have overnight accommodations. Basically, there was some conditions that were, or the number of units, it's outlined in the staff report. They had 98 units. There was some conditions on access, on roads. They were going to keep the roads private and establish a HOA to maintain their own roads. It was all going to be done. And just some of those things. Well, they came back with the actual subdivision amendment plat because part of the property was in a subdivision. So the Hassan Estates subdivision is now, so this is basically an amendment to the Hassan Estates subdivision that will formalize their entitlement of the Spanish Valley overnight accommodation overlay for 98 units and basically provide them the legal descriptions with this. Now, the only difference, and then this brought up by the Planning Commission, is the approved plan that they brought in for the Spanish Valley overnight accommodations overlay included access off the highway.
Right.
Now, this plan, they came back and they had removed that access from the highway. So the question was brought up by the road department. So, well, that's going to put a lot of traffic onto the existing roads to Tangren Lane. And specifically, the concern was that there would be a lot of people coming through the LeGrand Johnson gravel pit on Google Earth calls it Ranch Road. It's red, and I reference it as Ranch Road on here. It's actually County Road 1981, Tangren Lane, comes down and turns. So the Planning Commission made a recommendation with their approval of this subdivision amendment. They recommend that the developer participate in improving access directly up to Old Airport Road. And so that's also included in the next one, is that participation agreement that the developer is willing to pitch in $225,000 towards the building of, and the relocating of what is Tangren, which is county owned, and there's actually utilities in there. So the county wouldn't necessarily abandon that, but they would probably close it and establish a new road to the east of the LeGrand Johnson gravel pits, their batch plant and everything that's there, so that they can just access directly up through there.
Go up Spanish Valley Drive? Or?
It'll go up to Old Airport Road.
Okay.
So it's shown on that. This map's showing. So anyway, this item is just for the subdivision amendment number 6. Basically formalizes their approval they've already had for the Spanish Valley overnight accommodations overlay with number of units.
Zoning was okay.
Yeah, they were good with that. They did recommend that you consider a participation agreement from them, because the developer said, they came in and said, we want to improve the road Tangren Lane out to Spanish Valley Drive. We said, well, that's already paved, so would you be willing to help us with this relocation that benefits LeGrand Johnson, it benefits this developer, and we feel it benefits the county.
Yeah.
So that's where we felt like, and they were willing to put $225,000 towards that.
So we want to approve the subdivision first.
Yeah.
The amended subdivision.
Correct.
Do I have a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Jamie,
I'll second.
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Now we consider the agreement, participation agreement on the road.
Right. Yep. And that there is that agreement is in the packet.
Okay.
If Mac had any other comments on that?
I think a lot of this, it puts the onus on the county, but yet leaves the developer in participating with
Okay.
us. Obviously, if the developer sells everything and then is gone, then this also goes away with it. But it kind of helps solidify everything. We would, as the county, working with the road department, meet with the property owners along where we hope to get a road through there, and then not necessarily abandon what we're calling Ranch Road. I don't know if Sylvia and I drove through there, and I know you've driven there through there before. There's constant equipment driving back and forth through here with LeGrand. I know that they would appreciate a closure. We're not going to terminate and give this road back to anybody. That may be a future use that we could still use, but if we could at least put another road in here that gets us back out to Old Airport Road a lot quicker, acknowledging that the developer has mentioned, I can come off of Tangren Lane and go to the main drive, which is good, but just with the amount of traffic and potential uses that are going to come down the line, it'll be good to have another artery established here. But we've got to do our due diligence on our side of it to make sure that we can get that participation from the adjacent owners. So you have Grand County, LeGrand, both that would have to partner with us on allowing that to go through.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
a motion by Sylvia, second by Jamie. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, thank you. I just also wanted to extend the appreciation to Commissioner Stubbs for coming to Planning Commission. That's really
I really,
been nice to have you there. Appreciate
I
that.
had told the other people, the other commission, and nothing against you guys, but it's one of my favorite meetings to go. I go to lots of meetings because I just sit there and do nothing. Sometimes I almost say aye when they ask anybody in favor, I almost say aye.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're down to number 25. Is that right, Mac? Sam?
Okay, mine should be simple.
Thank you. I'll see you.
So, first item for me, item number 25, it's consideration and approval for the notice of award to the Kilgrow Companies, also known as LeGrand Johnson, for asphalt repair and replacement for several of our buildings. We went through the RFP process and received a proposal from them. It exceeded what we had budgeted for this year, but we had also included some additional services from them on the bid over and above what we had initially planned on. This will, we've budgeted $250,500, and we will exceed that amount by $16,056.46. The additional services include some seal coating and paint striping, which will happen next year. I had initially expected to do that in a separate project, but we went ahead and tied
What's
it
the
into
plan to
this.
take care of the overage?
That's a question for Mac. I'm not.
Just take it out of the commissioner's budget?
Yeah, in our capital fund, we allocated two things. We're trying to wait to see where everything comes out, but we have the roof projects that we included in there as well as this project, and so depending on where the roof project comes in, there may be some savings off of that, and so if not, we would have to make up an allocation to at the end of the year budget.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve this request?
Motion to.
Motion by Jamie,
I'll second.
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Okay, next one, consideration and approval of the notice of award to TM Premier Services for landscaping services at multiple locations. So this is we're trying to contract out our landscape maintenance services for this year.
Because?
At this point, we just don't have the staff
Okay.
to keep up with everything. We've got a vacant position that we've been advertising for since last September that we haven't been able to fill.
What will we do with the equipment if we?
Much of our equipment is also in need of replacement, and so we're trying to avoid spending that money on additional equipment.
When I saw the $7,000, I thought maybe I should hire that person to do all my yard work.
Yeah. That
Yes.
Well,
is a
the
significant
supply did you?
savings.
I mean, I spend lots of money on stuff that goes
Mm-hmm.
maintaining.
Yeah, and this
Well, if the equipment's in bad repair, then this makes a lot of sense.
It
to me.
does. Yep.
Yep, it does. And even aside from that, it takes one person between 2 and 2.5 days a week to keep up with this, and right now in our department it is just myself and Warren.
Okay.
So yeah, just in order to free us up to be able to address some of the other needs in the
Okay,
county.
we have a motion to approve.
I just have one question: is the person we contract is a member of the county or is outside the county?
He's within the county, yes.
He lives in the county. You see,
Yep.
we're in business.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll motion to approve.
Motion by Sylvia,
I'll second.
second by Jamie. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. I think we ought to suspend the commission reports today.
There's nobody to report. I was
No.
gonna talk about my Washington DC trip.
Do we have a motion? You can tell us next time, Sylvia.
Yeah, I will.
Motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Jamie, a second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay.
Okay, hold on, let's take this.
Now if we can get all the electronic